Hello, and welcome to Business Matters, the show about people behind businesses that help make Tacoma a great place to live and work. I'm your host, Mike Wark, and on today's show, we feature owners of a pottery business in Freighthouse Square. Andrew Fry answers the question, so you want to be an entrepreneur? And in the studio today is John Burkhardt, Director of Communications for the University of Washington Tacoma, here to talk to us about the Veterans Incubator for Better Entrepreneurship, also known as the VIBE program. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. And you said the word vibe,
Yes.
and that is actually a vibe that is created in the space where that program lives.
So you go in there and you can really feel that sense of entrepreneurship brewing there.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. It's co-located with our Veterans and Military Resource Center, and the director, Thomas Koljam, is
Director of the VIBE.
He's director of the VIBE, and he sits there right at the front near the entrance and sees all the people coming in to learn about their military benefits, to study, to hang out. And so he's a very social person, and he's ready to connect with them and learn about their desires to become entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so people, vets and others, do come in to learn about entrepreneurship and what they need to do to pursue their dreams of building a business.
You know, part of the secret sauce of VIBE is that Thomas is really good at realizing that people have a business when they don't even realize it.
Right. So he starts talking to people about what they want to do and helps them realize they actually are entrepreneurs.
What happens is you find that veterans have some unique characteristics that makes them really suited to be entrepreneurs. And so that's part of what Thomas is doing, is helping them realize that and drawing that out of them.
And that is such a tendency. I mean, it's such a natural thing for veterans to apply themselves to entrepreneurship. That's why the VIBE was created.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. So tell me, what are those characteristics that make veterans good business owners?
Well, I mean, it's the very characteristics that they gain by serving in the military.
Yeah.
It's things like learning to be really pragmatic. It's things like learning to be able to deal with working for long hours, slogging away in all kinds of conditions. It's so just characteristics like that make you really suited for entrepreneurship, because some of those same things can happen in the small business world.
Total commitment, getting things done, and like you say, you can imagine being out on a battlefield or trudging through a desert or serving on a Navy ship. You just do long hours doing what you have to do for your mission.
Yeah, exactly.
That applies really well to entrepreneurship.
Vets are really good at either focusing on the team or working as an individual, which often happens in the business world too.
And they're focused on the mission.
You tell a military person, or the idea is also an entrepreneur, what needs to be done, and they will get it done. You don't have to give them minute directions about how to do it.
There's lots of great examples, right?
In fact, one example that I have is someone who didn't even know he had a business, and it was Thomas that sort of coached him into realizing he had a business. This is a fellow who was in the Army, and he had some tough service. He had a traumatic brain injury, and he went through an explosion that actually ended up, he lost a limb in that explosion. And as a civilian, you know, his situation was that you've got this injury, you've got to take care of it. He was fitted with a prosthetic, but he found that regular commercial soaps that he would use to keep his body clean would irritate the flesh around where the amputation was. And he couldn't then wear the prosthetic. Well, you know, he was very intuitively thinking and innovatively thinking, I need to do something about this. I am going to learn everything I get about soap making, and I'm going to make my own soap that's going to work for me. And he did that. Told some friends about it, friends heard about it, people said, hey, I'd buy that from you if you had some. So he was selling it to folks, but you know, he still didn't think he had a business. Now, one of Thomas's little rules of thumb is, if you have a customer who's willing to pay, you've got a business.
Yeah, that's what a business is.
So this was it. And so he was telling this fellow, you've got a business, you just have to build a plan around it. Okay. So he did. And he submitted the plan in the annual VIBE business plan competition this year. And he won third prize.
Which provides money to help with the business?
Yes, absolutely. He gets prize money, and he gets coaching from subject matter experts in things like finance and legal issues and things like that.
And those experts are aligned by vibe according to the needs of the business person, the entrepreneur. So that's a great overview of sort of the cycle, the function of the vibe, how it works. Individuals get coaching, but there's also the business plan competition, which is a focus, right? An entrepreneur is all about building a business plan. And then you implement it, and that's how people judge and sort of give advice on what your business might look like. And so the business plan competition is not. Well, tell me about that. How does it work? I know this is the big annual event, right?
It's a big annual event. We actually took a hiatus during the pandemic, as a lot of things did, but we came back in full force this year, in 2023. So it's arranged in several stages. People submit their business plans. There's an initial screening round, and then the folks who survive that screening round, they take part in what's called the trade show round, where they come into one of our large spaces on campus and set up as if they're at a trade show.
A booth.
They set up a booth. And people from the campus community and from the public and also judges come through and look at all these booths and look at all these, they interview all these.
So the entrepreneurs, the business people give their pitch.
Yeah, they give their pitch, and everybody who is coming through the trade show round is given Vibe bucks. Like, little printed dollars or whatever. Everybody gets 500 Vibe bucks, and everybody gets to give their Vibe bucks to, they put them in boxes.
Their favorite business
of their favorite business plan. And then all those are added up at the end, and that's how it's decided who then goes on to the final round.
Oh, interesting.
Then the final round, which is held a couple weeks later, the finalists come together and they give 7-minute pitches to a panel of judges. So they have to be really polished, and they've taken the 2 weeks between, and they've practiced and practiced.
Right, and with some coaching, of course.
Yeah, and the judges have their business plans in front of them with all their financials and so forth. And then the judges go out and they review all this material, and they come back and they award. And in this case, we had first, second, and third prize winners, and we had something called the People's Choice Award.
Through this process, you're ready to go. And you get the advice that you need to actually start your business. That's an outcome. And a lot of those businesses are starting right here in Tacoma.
Absolutely. They're starting here in Tacoma. I mean, it's open to anyone to participate in the business plan competition.
Right. But there's this veteran aspect of it. How does that work? Isn't there a combination
of If you have a veteran on your team, you get a little bit of extra consideration in these various rounds of judging and so forth.
And so that exposes this veteran expertise to the community and other entrepreneurs. That's just wonderful. But it does make me want to ask you, why is UW Tacoma committed to the veteran community, and how does it fit in with their larger mission?
We are what we call an urban serving university campus. And so that means that we're really connected to the community. We have lots of community engagements. Our faculty do research, but when they do research, they do so-called youth-inspired and community-engaged research. And
so things that connect with the community and they're applicable.
Yeah. And guess what? The veteran community is part of our community.
And there's this whole sea of goodwill and support for the military and veterans, because so many separate here from JBLM.
Yeah, we're only 9 miles as the crow flies from JBLM.
The most popular base for military people to separate from, so, and a lot of them stay here.
Yeah, there are thousands every year that separate from the military at Joint Base Lewis McChord. And so we are there for them to, if they are interested in pursuing higher education, we are there for them. And, we feel that having a big diversity of types of people on the campus is critical to the educational experience.
To reflect
and that
the population,
includes veterans bring, some of those characteristics that I described to you are great characteristics for students to pick up on.
Right. Good inspiration. Now, entrepreneurship, you've got the vibe here. That's one sort of node for building entrepreneurs and providing service. But I understand UW Tacoma is expanding on that.
Vibe is one component of our strategy around entrepreneurship. And just as we are growing our campus, we have an ambition to grow to serve 10,000 students. We are growing these programs such as how we support entrepreneurship in Tacoma and the South Sound. So, for example, we've got a working group that includes faculty and administrators who are looking at what are we doing now, what could we be doing, what's going on in the community.
Around entrepreneurship.
Pulling it all together into a whole package of recommendations and services around entrepreneurship.
to provide more support and connect all those entrepreneurs and entrepreneur supports in the community.
Yeah, and that community connection is a really important part of that.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And Thomas, of course, is part of that.
Thomas is part of that. Another person who's a guest on this show, or a presenter on this show, Andrew Fry, he's a part of that. Jill Purdy, who's one of the founding faculty members of the Milgard School of Business, is part of that. Althoff Merchant, who's the dean of the Milgard School, is part of that.
So great wealth of institutional knowledge and entrepreneurship knowledge that's already connected and applied in the communities. Andrew, people may not know, they see him on the show, they may not know he also works at UW Tacoma.
Yeah, he does.
So
and Mike Wark, you used to work at UW Tacoma
20
too.
years, yeah.
In fact, you were there at the founding of the Vibe.
Indeed, yeah, I was very closely involved with that. So it's great to see it blooming and growing and continuing to really connect in the community, and see UW Tacoma expanding that entrepreneurship connection, which is so critical for creating great guests for Business Matters. So it all comes around.
Yes, well, it's a pleasure to be on the show.
Well, it's great to have you, John. Thanks for being with us today and to share about Vibe.
Thank you.
Up next, Andrew Fry helps you launch into your own business. He'll explain. On this segment of Tacoma Means Business, Andrew Fry takes you through the 4 steps of owning your own business.
Hello, entrepreneurs. And by that, I mean everyone, because anyone and everyone can be an entrepreneur. Currently, right now, I'm in the middle of an initiative that is part of the University of Washington Tacoma campus to make all of the entrepreneurial initiatives and ventures more visible so that the community can be aware of them, and we can do a little bit more outreach into those who would like to be entrepreneurs. So you want to be an entrepreneur? Hey, if you're looking for a new job, why not create one for yourself, right? It's not impossible. If anything, it's an opportunity. My very first job out of college was a company I started. It's one of those things when sometimes you have an idea, you just go out and do it. First thing you need to do is get in the business mindset. You got a hobby, you got a side gig, you've been working on something and it's been a lot of fun, and you think to yourself, that might be a business. Get into the business mindset. And that means think about what a business is and does, the responsibility of things like customer service, customer support, accounting, the law, and understand that as all part of this, you're the one who's going to create that mechanism that turns it from an idea into a business. To do that, get started, business mindset, all right? Next thing you do is, well, check out the competition. Oh, I want to do a business, I'm getting into the business mindset, and now, who am I going to be competing with? When you think about your competition, I want you to go out there, and then it's easy or difficult to recognize who the competition is. And that is, in some cases, it's easy because they're doing what you want to do. You want to open up a restaurant, there's a lot of restaurants out there. There's a lot of food trucks out there, and you'll be competing with them. But then other ones is you want to create a game, a board game, or a mobile app game, or online world. I don't care what area it is. It's like, are you competing with other games? Yes, you are, but you're also competing with movie theaters. You're competing with books and television because you're in the entertainment industry. So understand who your competition is for the third thing that you need to do, which is run the numbers. This is a hard thing for some people. You have to decide, what are you going to charge? And then you have to compare that with, how much is it going to cost you to deliver it? And then you have to add things in like, what are my taxes? And what's it going to cost me to support the product once it's in the customer's hands? So run the numbers. And again, this is where it gets daunting for those who say, I'm not an entrepreneur, and you are. There's information out there. Go and talk to local organizations like SCORE, and they can help you, the Small Business Association. Fourth, and one of the things that I talk about all the time, write up a plan. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be a book. It eventually can be pretty long and sophisticated and contain a lot of information, especially if, say, you get to a point you're so large, you're recruiting in new officers to the company because you got so big, it needs that kind of experience. Well, then your business plan is probably going to be pretty big. But at the beginning, make it a 2-pager. But put the information down. Have a plan. What are you going to do? When are you going to launch it? How are you going to measure things? And at the end of the first year, how much money are you hoping to make? Business mindset. Get there, right? And then look at the competition. It's out there. And then run the numbers. Does it make sense? And if you need help, find it somewhere. And then finally, write up your plan.
Thanks, Andrew. For more tips on helping you grow your business, check out Tacoma's Community and Economic Development Program at makeittacoma.com. When Business Matters continues, pottery, and more pottery at an innovative Tacoma business. Next up is a family-owned business, the Painting Panda Pottery Studio. Noelle and Herschell Wilson are the entrepreneurs who wanted to fill a void in downtown Tacoma, offering locals and visitors a fun activity. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I'm thrilled to learn about your business, which fills a creative niche in Tacoma for fun things for people to do of all ages. Yes. So with that, please tell us about your business.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, we are a paint-it-yourself pottery studio in Freighthouse Square, right here in the Dome District. Started that not too long ago, and we just love it. It's a lot of fun.
So when you say paint yourself, what you provide are bisque, you call it, which are molds that are really cool. Can you tell me? And then you provide the colors and people paint them and make their own creative masterpieces.
Yes. So, and that's exactly, I always tell customers that they're creating a masterpiece. They're creating a one-of-a-kind, unique piece that no purple monkey has ever existed before, like your purple monkey. But so we provide a variety of unpainted ceramics, which technically is bisque, but to customers coming in, it's, unpainted ceramic, unpainted pottery. And so we have everything from figurines to monkeys and lions and tigers. To
Star Wars figures?
Yes, we have some Star Wars pieces. Mm-hmm. We have some of our most popular pieces are anything to do with gnomes, mushrooms, and now dragons.
Oh, really?
So like the whimsical fantasy kind of pieces.
That makes sense.
But then, we have our classic mugs, plates, bowls. We have a really cool, one of my favorite pieces is our tentacle tumbler. So it's like a cup with like tentacles all around it,
cool.
Which is very fitting being here in Tacoma.
Of course, yeah.
So we tell them to choose their piece, whatever speaks to them. Mm-hmm. We provide them, they choose their colors. We have over 80 colors of glaze that they can choose from. There's no limit on the number of the colors that they use. And then we have tools and stuff. We can provide some inspiration or instruction if they have questions. And then really it's up to them to create their piece. They leave it with us. We do a clear glaze on it, and then we fire it in a kiln.
And that brings all the colors out and makes it shiny and beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You didn't mention the Darth Vader mug.
We've got a Darth Vader bank, which is a pretty impressive piece.
So people come into a studio setting, and you have tables there, and they go to the shelves, and they pick out whatever piece of pottery they paint it, and they're done. But and so that's the basic concept.
Yes.
But there's all different kinds of ways that you can enjoy that, from things for kids to things for adults.
Yes.
Right?
We are a very inclusive studio. We're all ages. We do get a lot of calls. They're like, "Do you allow kids?" I'm like, "Absolutely, we allow kids."
Yeah, you had them in mind when you created the studio.
Exactly. And it's a family business, but it's truly been a part of our family. Like I always tell my staff, I tell other people, like, this is like my fourth baby. So
you have 3 kids and they love to paint pottery. And
yes.
So you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I go to the website and I see the party hat and the kids painting. It just sounds like a fun activity, but you can just bring your kids in on the weekend or whatever. You just walk in and do it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we tell folks that you don't need a reservation or anything like that. You just come on in and pick your piece and then just paint it. Right. The only time you need a reservation if you want to actually have a party or something like that, and that's only so that we can kind of get a gauge and that type of thing. But
make it the best experience.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, I think that is a great business, but you also have date night.
Yes.
That's really cool. So that's 7 to 10 o'clock, right?
Yep.
That is correct. Yeah, we call it late night paint night.
Okay.
We figure it's a great opportunity for folks that are looking for something other than going to the bars to actually have fun and go on a date. So.
But if you want to have a drink.
Late night paint nights, we offer wine, different varieties, and then we have, water, some sort of like Fresca or something like that for if you're not wanting to drink, and then like heavy snacks. So like sandwiches, nacho dip, chips, desserts. Like it's not just like a bag of chips. Like it's, I like to throw a good party. So
sign me up. That sounds like fun.
And then it's also an opportunity, you know, because if you come in during our normal hours, there's kids, there's families, there's everybody, and it's busy. Yeah. And so for that, you know, we've got our lo-fi beats playing. You've got, it's just a more chill, relaxed atmosphere, and there's no kids.
So you also can take the kit home.
Yes.
Right? That's when you the kit for home. What is it called? Kit to go.
Yeah. Yep. So that was our COVID switch. Our COVID pivot, I guess that's the word that everybody uses. So we opened in September of 2019. You know, we were bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We were excited. We started out in a small space in Freighthouse, the very first space that we saw. We quickly started to outgrow that. Another space came available just down the hall. So we moved into that. We got all moved in February of 2020.
But you survived. You've gone through it.
Yes.
And I think it's fascinating that this wonderful creative business is growing. You've been hiring staff, and you continue to look for the next expansion.
Yep.
So that brings me to what I'm curious about is, how did you two make the jump? I know you had a career in business, Lockheed Martin and Lowe's, and you work in higher education. But at some point, you decided to make a jump to start this business. I think that's fascinating, in particular because it's so successful. So what led to you making that jump? I think it could be inspiring for others to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you know, I think it was a couple of different things. Actually, the business plan, and I went to business school, so I kind of understood the whole concept behind having a business. But I was kind of nervous in doing it. And she always loved to actually paint pottery. Some of our dates back in the day were painting pottery. And so the concept was actually written out 3 years before we actually opened. My mother was sick with cancer. That was when I basically said, once she passed away, it was like, I need to really do something and not be afraid, because otherwise I'm never going to do it.
So you're afraid, and then it was time to make the jump.
It was time to make the jump. Yeah. It was really crazy. It was very quick, and it was more or less, hey, let's go. I told Noelle, let's go actually look at a space. I knew Freighthouse Square had a lot of affordable spaces, and I researched the night before where to get certain products and things like that. Went there and actually put down the deposit for the space, and I knew I couldn't back out. The only problem was I didn't have a kiln, and I didn't even plan for that. So I spent the night, that following night, calling around to places to see if they can fire for us. And actually, I got in contact with a business called Spun, who was gracious enough to let us, at 2 o'clock in the morning, they answered and said yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. They answered and said, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was going to get a voicemail. And I spoke to the one of the owners there, and I said, you know, can we actually, I told the story.
Yeah.
I said, can we borrow your kilns to fire our pieces? And they said, absolutely, no problem. And so that's
wonderful.
how I got started.
Yeah.
So that's Tacoma, isn't it?
Yes.
All the supports. If you want to start a business, it's just an illustration of all the supports that are here for you. And SpaceWorks was another support?
Absolutely. So, you know, once we got into business for a little bit, we spoke to a lady called Liz who owns Stocklist, and she said, you know what, you guys should go through SpaceWorks. You know, Noelle goes by, because where she works, she goes by Stocklist all the time. And so we didn't quite know what that was, and so we then got in touch with SpaceWorks.
And what is SpaceWorks?
Well, SpaceWorks is an organization here in Tacoma that's a part of the Chamber of Commerce, and they help people get spaces. They also provide tons of different resources for different businesses, entrepreneurs. Also, there is and what's funny, the lady, one of the owners of Spun, works at SpaceWorks as well, and she runs the training program. So there's a lot of different training programs that SpaceWorks offers as well.
That's a great resource.
Absolutely.
So that's just an inspirational story that not only might encourage others who are wanting to make the jump, but to show how supportive of a community Tacoma is to start a business.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, and the funny thing is now I work for SpaceWorks as well as own the business, but it really was a great institution, still is, that, you know, supports their businesses and they still stand behind them. And so without their support early on, I don't know if we would have made it. So there were so many different things that lined up correctly for us to to be where we are today.
Yeah.
Particularly your grit, get up and go, and desire and creative approach to your business. So much fun.
And it's really been like we're the perfect, a lot of people say don't go into business with your spouse.
Yep.
But for us, it was never a question of like, should we do this? It was like, all right, how do we do this? Like, let's do it. But I will say I never wanted to own a business. That was always him. And then he kind of worked me down to, I'm like, okay, if I ever did, I'd want to own a pottery studio because that was my hobby. I got started in college and it just was a hobby that stayed with me through the years. And so we kind of, did the business plan and stuff. And then lo and behold, he's like, all right, we're doing it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. But just the network and the connectivity that Spaceworks provided and, me not coming from any kind of business background, like I was just the creative side of it. Right. But Spaceworks really helped me develop that business mind. And that was great to have because I felt like already had that. I had all the creativity in how the customer experience. So that really helped solidify kind of my business brain of like, yeah, I'm a business owner. Like that really helped. And that was during the pandemic. So
bringing the creative and the business together,
yes.
not only in the business, but in your marriage. And
yes.
it all works wonderfully and beautifully. I can't wait to come and paint some pottery.
Yeah.
So you can expect me there.
Yes,
probably
please do.
Date night, but
yes.
We'll see. I can't tell you how much I appreciate having you here today. It's been a great story.
Yeah.
And so thank you.
Thank you.
We're out of time.
Okay.
That's it for Business Matters. Join me next time for more insight into the Tacoma business scene. See you then.